When Ryan's sister looked me dead in the eye and said, "You trapped him," I felt something shatter deep within my chest. But what happened next? What my 6-month-old daughter did in front of everyone shocked them all into silence and proved that sometimes truth comes from the smallest voices. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I'm Sarah. I'm 32, a graphic designer working from home, and I became a mother 6 months ago when my daughter Emma was born. Her father, Ryan, is the love of my life. We met at a local coffee shop 3 years ago when he accidentally spilled my chai latte all over my sketches. He was horrified. I was furious. But by the end of that day, he'd bought me dinner and somehow turned the worst moment into the start of everything good in my life. His family, though, that's where things get complicated. Ryan comes from money. Old money, the kind that gets passed down through generations like a carefully guarded secret. His sister Ashley is 5 years older than him, divorced, and has made it her life's mission to protect what she calls the family legacy. She works at their father's law firm, drives a Tesla, and has never once called me by my name. To her, I've always been that woman, or Ryan's friend. The first time I met his mother, Monica, was at Easter brunch. Ryan had warned me they were particular about traditions. He just didn't mention how deeply the knife would cut when I brought store-bought rolls instead of homemade ones. Monica smiled, took the container from my hands, and said, "How thoughtful. We'll put these in the guest pantry." I never saw them again. Ryan tried to smooth it over later, saying his mother was just set in her ways. But I knew better. I could feel the chill in every conversation, see the careful way they edited their lives when I was around. My pregnancy announcement didn't go the way Ryan had hoped. We'd planned to tell them together at Sunday dinner. We arrived early, Ryan nervous, but excited, his hand warm around mine. Ashley was already there, perched on the white leather sofa like a watchful hawk. When Ryan announced our news, there was a silence so profound I could hear the grandfather clock ticking from the next room. "Congratulations," Monica finally said, though her eyes never smiled. Ashley's reaction was even worse. She just looked at me and said, "Wow, that was fast." The judgment hung in the air like smoke. Ryan squeezed my hand tighter, but I knew this was just the beginning of their subtle warfare. The wedding planning was a battlefield. Every suggestion I made was met with Monica's traditional way or Ashley's comment about keeping it simple. When I mentioned having it at the botanical gardens because that's where Ryan first told me he loved me, Ashley laughed and said, "How quaint." We ended up at their country club, surrounded by white flowers and people I'd never met. During the reception, I overheard Ashley telling a cousin, "Well, she's pretty enough. Let's hope the baby inherits Ryan's brains." After Emma was born, things got worse. Monica had strong opinions about everything, from breastfeeding to swaddling techniques. She'd show up at our house unannounced with designer baby clothes too, sizes too big and casseroles I never asked for. One morning, I found her rearranging Emma's nursery. "This isn't how proper mothers organize things," she said when I asked what she was doing. Ashley was even more cutting. She'd make comments about my casual parenting style when I let Emma sleep in my arms instead of her crib. At family dinners, she'd ask pointed questions about my income now that I was working part-time, implying I was financially dependent on Ryan. Every conversation felt like an interrogation designed to expose my inadequacies. Ryan noticed the tension but tried to be the peacemaker. He'd make excuses for them. They're set in their ways. They just want the best for us. Give them time. But time wasn't healing these wounds. It was making them deeper. I started making excuses to skip family events. Ryan would go alone sometimes, coming home frustrated and torn between defending me and keeping peace with his family. The breaking point began with what seemed like an innocent Sunday dinner invitation. Ashley had just gotten engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Michael, a hedge fund manager who Ashley described as finally someone worthy of the Caldwell name. The dinner was supposedly to celebrate their engagement, but I had a feeling there was more to it. Ryan insisted we go, promising he'd have my back. I dressed Emma in a soft pink dress, hoping she might charm them into treating me with basic human decency. When we arrived, the house felt colder than usual. Ashley greeted us, wearing a Chanel suit and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sarah," she said, pronouncing my name like it tasted bitter. "And the baby." She didn't ask to hold Emma, didn't comment on how much she'd grown since they'd last seen her. Just nodded and turned to Ryan. "Michael's here. He can't wait to meet you properly." The dining room table gleamed with Monica's finest china and crystal. Everything was perfect and pristine, like a magazine spread. Place cards marked each seat, and I noticed mine was at the far end of the table from Ryan. Emma squirmed in my arms, making small baby sounds that seemed too loud in the formal room. We sat down to dinner, prime rib, asparagus, and potatoes, prepared by their private chef. The conversation flowed around me like I was invisible. Ashley and Monica discussed family trust funds and vacation homes. Michael talked about his portfolio. Ryan tried multiple times to bring me into the conversation, but each attempt fell flat when Ashley would redirect to another topic. Then the questioning started. "So, Sarah," Ashley began, swirling her wine glass, "Ryan mentioned you're thinking about going back to work full-time?" I felt every eye at the table turn to me. "Eventually," I answered carefully. "For now, I want to be home with Emma." Ashley mused. "Must be nice to have that luxury." The implication was clear. She leaned forward, studying me like a specimen under glass. "You know, I was just telling Mother how fortunate you are. Not everyone gets to marry into a family that can provide such security." My cheeks burned, but before I could respond, Monica chimed in. "It's true. Ryan's father and I worked very hard to build what we have. We've always been protective of our family's interests." She said this while looking pointedly at Emma, as if my daughter was somehow a threat to their carefully constructed world. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, that's not what this is about." "Isn't it?" Ashley set down her glass with more force than necessary. "I mean, let's be real here. You two barely knew each other before she got pregnant. The timing was awfully convenient." The word hung in the air like poison. Convenient. As if my pregnancy was some calculated move, some trap I'd set. I felt my heartbeat in my throat, my arms automatically tightening around Emma. "Ashley," Ryan's voice was low, warning, but his sister was just getting started. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking," she continued. "Single woman, decent job but nothing spectacular, meets wealthy man, and suddenly she's pregnant and married within a year. You have to admit, from the outside it looks." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Monica just buttered her roll with careful precision, neither agreeing nor disagreeing with Ashley's character assassination. My hands shook slightly as I tried to maintain my composure for Emma's sake. That's when Emma started fussing. She'd been so good throughout dinner, but babies have their limits, and she'd reached hers. I excused myself to the guest bathroom, to feed her, needing a moment away from the toxic atmosphere. In the quiet of that bathroom, with Emma nursing contentedly, I finally let a few tears fall. How had I ended up here, in this beautiful but cold house, surrounded by people who saw me as nothing more than a gold digger? When we returned to the dining room, dessert had been served, some elaborate French pastry that probably cost more than my car payment. Emma was alert now, making those little baby sounds that usually brought smiles to people's faces. But not here. Here, even her existence seemed to be viewed with suspicion. Ashley picked up where she'd left off. "You know, Ryan, When Dad set up his trust, he was very specific about certain protections. He wanted to make sure the family wealth stayed within the family, blood relatives only. My heart sank. I understood what she was saying. In their eyes, I would never be family. And maybe, in their twisted logic, Emma was only halfway there. "Ashley, that's enough," Ryan said, his voice firm for the first time that evening. "Sarah is my wife. She didn't trap me. I chose her. I choose her every day." "Oh, Ryan," Ashley sighed, playing with her diamond engagement ring. "You're so naive sometimes. You really think it's just coincidence that she targeted someone with your background? That you were the first coffee shop customer she ever had? An accident with?" Her words were like darts, each one hitting a different insecurity I'd carried since I first realized the depth of the wealth divide between us. Was Ryan secretly wondering the same things? Had he ever questioned my motives? The way his family clearly did? The tension in the room was suffocating. Monica finally spoke up, not to defend me, but to change the subject slightly. "Well, the important thing is that Emma is here now. We just need to make sure proper provisions are made for her future education. I've already contacted several boarding schools that have kindergarten waiting lists." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "She's 6 months old," I protested weakly, "and we haven't discussed boarding school." "No, you haven't," Monica said sharply, "which is why we're discussing it now. Children from our family attend certain schools. It's tradition." "Our family?" I asked, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "Is that what I am now? Family?" The question hung in the air, daring them to answer honestly. Ashley's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're Ryan's wife," she said carefully. "That's a legal status. Family, however, is something you're born into." It was in that moment, with my daughter in my arms and my husband's family dismissing my very existence, that something fundamental shifted inside me. I'd spent months trying to prove myself worthy, trying to fit into their world, trying to make them accept me. But suddenly, I didn't care about their acceptance anymore. I cared about my daughter growing up thinking she wasn't good enough either. Emma must have sensed my tension because she started to fuss again, then began to cry. I tried soothing her, but sometimes babies just need to cry it out. Ashley rolled her eyes. "Maybe if you established a better routine. Maybe if she didn't have relatives who treat her mother like garbage," I snapped back, surprising myself with my boldness. The room fell completely silent. Monica's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Ashley's eyebrows raised in apparent amusement at my outburst. "Excuse me?" Monica said in her iciest tone. "You heard me," I said, my voice stronger now even as Emma continued to cry. "For the past year, I've bent over backward trying to earn your respect. I've changed my clothes, my dinner conversation, even the way I hold my coffee cup because Ashley once said it wasn't refined enough. But I'm done. I'm done pretending that your money makes you better than me. I'm done acting like your judgment of my life choices is something I should care about." Ryan looked at me with something like, "Aw, but I wasn't finished." "You want to talk about family? Real family doesn't make you feel small. Real family doesn't whisper about you being a gold digger when you genuinely love someone. Real family doesn't make a 6-month-old baby feel unwelcome in their presence." Ashley leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "Are you quite finished? With your little speech?" "Actually," I said, standing up with Emma in my arms, "I think I am finished. Not just with the speech, but with all of this." I turned to Ryan. "I love you. I will always love you. But I can't keep exposing our daughter to people who see her as half of something instead of whole, who see me as someone who trapped you instead of someone you chose to love." Ryan stood up too, his face a mixture of guilt and determination. Sarah, wait. Do what makes you happy, Ryan, I said gently. But I won't make Emma grow up thinking she has to prove she belongs in a family that's supposed to love her unconditionally. As I walked toward the front door, my high heels clicking on the marble floor, the crying of my baby was the only sound in the house. Emma's little face was red with frustration, her tiny fists waving in the air. I bounced her gently, whispering soothing words as I prepared to leave this toxic environment once and for all. That's when Emma stopped crying. She blinked her big blue eyes, Ryan's eyes, and looked around the room at all the faces watching us. And then, in the most unexpected moment of my life, something miraculous happened. Emma lifted her tiny hand and pointed directly at Ryan. Her voice, small but perfectly clear, said her first word, "Dada." The room froze. Not a breath, not a movement. Monica's crystal wine glass remained suspended halfway to her lips. Ashley's perfectly manicured fingers stopped mid-gesture. Michael's business smile melted into genuine surprise. "Did she just—" Monica whispered, setting down her glass without making a sound. But Emma wasn't finished. She turned those big blue eyes toward me and, with the same crystal clarity, said, "Mama." Then she smiled, that radiant baby smile that makes the world stop, and reached for Ashley. Her little fingers opened and closed in that universal grabbing motion. "Auntie," she said. It wasn't just a word. It was recognition, acceptance, connection. Ashley's face underwent a transformation I'd never witnessed before. The carefully constructed wall of judgment crumbled. Her eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink away, but one escaped anyway, tracing a path down her cheek. She called me Auntie," Ashley said, her voice breaking on the last word. She looked at Emma not with suspicion or disdain, but with wonder. "I didn't think. We never—" "She knows who you are," Ryan said softly, moving to stand beside me. "She's always known, even when we haven't acted like family." Emma babbled more sounds. Not words this time, but the musical phrases babies make when they're happy. She clapped her little hands together, completely oblivious to the emotional earthquake she'd just triggered. Monica slowly stood up from the head of the table. She moved around to where we were standing, her heels clicking less sharply than usual on the marble floor. I instinctively pulled Emma closer, old habits dying hard. "May I?" Monica asked, extending her arms in a gesture so different from her usual commanding presence. When I hesitated, she added something I'd never heard from her before. "Please?" I handed Emma over, watching Monica's face as she held her granddaughter properly for the first time. Emma reached up and touched Monica's cheek, studying her with the fearless curiosity of a child. "Gamma," Emma attempted, the closest she could get to grandma. "Oh," was all Monica managed to say before her composure cracked completely. She kissed Emma's forehead with a tenderness that shocked us all. The transformation rippled through the room. Michael, who had been watching the scene unfold with his finance-trained eye for assessing situations, spoke up. "You know, Ashley, when we have children someday, I hope our family welcomes their mother with more grace." Ashley winced at his words. She looked at me directly for the first time that evening. Really looked at me, not through me or around me. "I owe you an apology," she said. "More than one, actually." "More than a few," Ryan added firmly, his arm around my waist. "Right," Ashley agreed. She stood up and walked toward us. "I've been horrible, worse than horrible. I've been blinded by—" She struggled to find the words. "By fear, I guess. Fear that our family would change, that Ryan would be taken from us." "I'm right here," Ryan pointed out gently. "You haven't lost anything. You've gained two wonderful people to love." "I see that now," Ashley admitted, "but I see more than that." The way you stayed composed through all of our tests and insults. The way you just stood up for yourself and Emma. You're stronger than I gave you credit for. Stronger than I've been." She turned to Monica. "We've all been like this, holding on so tight to traditions and legacies that we've forgotten how to welcome love into this family." Monica was still holding Emma, swaying gently as babies like. "Perhaps," she conceded, her voice softer than usual. "We've been measuring the wrong things. Instead of checking social status or bank accounts, we should have been asking if someone makes our son happy, if they're kind, if they're good parents." She looked down at Emma. "If they raise beautiful babies who see family, where we've only seen outsiders." "I don't need to fit into your box," I said, finding my voice stronger now. "I don't even want to. But Emma, she deserves grandparents who celebrate her existence, not relatives who question her place in the family tree." "You're absolutely right," Monica said. "And I need to do better. We all do." Ashley wiped her eyes discreetly. "Michael and I are actually thinking of moving into the neighborhood. Maybe we could start over? Weekly dinners, but without the interrogations? Without the judgment?" I felt the tension that had been living in my shoulders for months begin to melt. "I'd like that," I said carefully. "But things will be different. Equal. Respectful." "Agreed," Ashley said. "And maybe Emma could be flower girl at our wedding. If that's something you'd consider." Emma chose that moment to reach for Ashley again, saying "Auntie" with even more confidence. Ashley took her from Monica, and this time she held her with genuine affection, not the awkward distance I was used to seeing. We didn't eat the rest of dinner. Instead, we moved to the living room, where Emma commandeered the plush rug, and we all sat on the floor with her. Monica, in her designer dress, Ashley in her Chanel suit, all of us playing peekaboo and marveling at Emma's growing vocabulary. Ryan called the chef and had him bring out finger foods and Emma's favorite baby snacks from our diaper bag. We shared stories about Ryan as a child, about my childhood, about the little moments we'd been missing while building walls instead of bridges. "You know," Michael said during a quiet moment, "my family was the same way. Very protective of their business, very skeptical of outsiders. It took them years to accept me, even with my background. But once they did, the love was fierce and loyal." "That's what we want," Ashley said, looking at Emma with newfound tenderness. "Fierce love, family loyalty, not this cold distance we've been clinging to." Monica reached over and touched my hand, another first. "I'd like to arrange for a photographer to come this week, to take proper family portraits. All of us, together." "I'd like that," I said, genuinely meaning it. As we prepared to leave that evening, the goodbyes were different, warm, real. Ashley kissed my cheek without hesitation. Monica held us both, Emma and me, in a proper embrace. Ryan's relief was visible in every line of his relaxed shoulders. In the car ride home, Ryan was quiet at first. Then he said, "I'm sorry it took this long. I should have stood up for you. Sooner." "It's okay," I said, and I meant it. Sometimes change needs a catalyst. Sometimes it needs an innocent voice to speak truth to power. Our 6-month-old? Our brilliant 6-month-old. We both laughed. Emma cooed from her car seat, exhausted but content. In the weeks that followed, true to their words, things changed. We had regular dinners, sometimes at their house, sometimes at ours. Ashley helped me set up a home studio for my graphic design work. Monica would babysit when I had deadlines. She followed my routines to the letter now, asking questions instead of issuing commands. The biggest surprise came 2 months later when Ashley asked me to lunch, just us, no Ryan, no Monica, no babies. At a trendy cafe downtown, she handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked warily. "Open it." Inside was a hand-drawn family tree, beautifully calligraphed. At the top were Ryan's great-grandparents, branches extended down through generations. And there, in fresh ink, were Ryan and me, connected by a marriage line. Below us was Emma, and beside our names in a separate color but equal prominence were my parents and siblings. I had it done by the same artist who did our family's original tree in the 1920s, Ashley explained. I'm having it hung in the main hallway at Mother's house, where everyone can see that we're all connected now. I touched the careful calligraphy of my name, no longer just Ryan's wife, but a full branch in their family tree. "Thank you," I whispered. "No," Ashley said. "Thank you for not giving up on us, for staying strong enough that Emma could be the bridge we were too proud to build ourselves." 6 months after that dinner party, baby Emma said another important first word, but this one didn't shock anyone. She was sitting on Monica's lap at weekly dinner when she pointed to everyone around the table and said, with perfect clarity and a joy that lit up the whole room, "Family." And she was right. We were. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.